Our goal is to accelerate clinical trials. We do believe we have many novel methods of how to organize a team around the study, how to put together the right skill sets for each individual study, and we can be really quick with kicking off sort of the clinical part of the study. Having a technology platform that is also end-to-end with regards to the trial lifecycle. Very simply, everything that touches patient research data, if we keep it in the same place and give it a good user experience, we believe it can transformationally change how studies conducted.
The following is a conversation with Nijat. Nijat has worked at several different startups as a founding team member, but also holds a PhD in chemistry from the University of Oxford. He researched new materials for semiconductors. Now, I think that should be a separate podcast probably, but today we talk about Lindus Health. Now, Nijat currently serves as the head of product at Lindus, and they call themselves the anti-CRO. They're trying to redefine the experience of what it means to be a CRO. They're trying to redefine the patient experience, the time it takes to get outcomes, to get data, to get insights. And I love Nijat's passion for what they do. Lindus as a team feels incredibly motivated to redefine what is a very, very big industry. So I hope you enjoy today's podcast. Let me know what you think. Enjoy. So Nijat, it's wonderful to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for agreeing to tell us a little bit about some of the very exciting stuff that Lindus is doing. So I guess just to dive straight into it, can you tell us a little bit about the work that Lindus does and its mission?
Yeah, sure thing. First of all, it's great to be here. Thanks for reminding me to your podcast. So Lindus Health. So we are an end-to-end CRO essentially, and our goal is to accelerate clinical trials at the very, very highest level. We have our methods of achieving this mission. Primarily, there's a big part of the company that does clinical operations of studies, and we do believe we have many novel methods of how to organize a team around the study, how to put together the right skill sets for each individual study, and we can be really quick with kicking off sort of the clinical part of the study. The part that I'm involved in a lot is the technology part of our model. And we believe that having a technology platform, we call that our product, that is also end-to-end with regards to the trial lifecycle. Very simply, everything that touches patient research data, if we keep it in the same place and give it a good user experience, we believe it can transformationally change how studies conducted, because we know one of the key problems in putting together multiple systems to tell a narrative about a story, about a study, that's a huge problem in clinical trials, and we're solving that problem. So in combination, the clinical operations part of the company and the product and technology part of the company, we believe that therein lies our value proposition to companies who want to do effective research and do it fast. Yeah, that's how we do it.
That's awesome. So you're talking about technology a lot. How do you leverage technology as a CRO? And maybe you could also address your tagline, which is, I guess, meant to draw a little bit of attention, the anti-CRO, what do you mean by that?
Well, I think those are kind of two different questions, but both are very interesting. So I'll answer them in a way that we understand it. So anti-CRO comes from the way we think about structuring, pricing, and delivering studies. It's sort of a spiritual approach to essentially not making a lot of mistakes that we see other CROs are making. I think it shines through in our ability to care about the research study more than we think other CROs. And so the way technology fits into this. So I think technology is such a big topic. We don't think there is any particularly difficult technological problems in this space. We're not building language models or doing insanely complex hardware or working at a chip level. What we're really doing is, I think the key technology problem is around management of research data and keeping it all in place. So we sometimes think that people who join the company sometimes get surprised at the fact that we're even using technology in the first place. And I mean simple things like Google Drive and Slack and that, which have a fundamental sort of benefit to how fast we can do these jobs. But the real benefit we're bringing is more of a productization of technology. So when we build solutions that you typically see in EDCs or ePros. We're not really here to reinvent technology, reinvent how ePros work. We're here to build a product experience for clinicians and the patients and the data manager to all operate within the same platform and share context with each other. So which is why we put incredibly high emphasis on user experience. User experience is a very, again, overused word. It's really about the experience that the study team has while using this platform. So, and this was a bet early on because there was a lot of pressure to really build this feature and that feature and that feature and solve this problem. What we were focusing on is building our products in such a way that the trial itself is prioritized versus some individual function. And over time, that effect has been compounded. We have underlying sort of clinical database management system that does a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to connecting and systems talking to each other. So all of that problem is gone. And yeah, we abstract away problems versus, directly solve and create more problems. So it's a unique approach, we think, to product development. And we take a lot of lessons from the best products out there, product development cultures out there, sort of moving away from the Salesforce models to more of a sort of more modern practices of product development.
So this is fair to say, from what I'm hearing, is that you're trying to build technology, integrating existing things to enable you to deliver a new type of experience in the running, designing, and delivery of clinical trial, and also patient experience, I guess, in the trial itself.
Exactly, and the patient experience is part of that experience, and that's exactly it. So that what we call the study team, we don't think of even in our clinical operations model, we don't think of individual siloed teams doing jobs and tasks. We think of it as a team collaborating to move this forward. And that's how our product works as well. It's meant to bring a unified experience for the different study team members, which is a new experience for many people. We're now seeing a lot of feedback that basically communicates that. It says, this is nothing like we've seen before, but I like it.
That's awesome. And let's go a little bit higher level. Given your experience in the past couple of years at Lindus, how do you see the future of clinical trials in the world?
I'll answer that. I'll sort of invert that question and answer it this way. So why does this company exist and why are we doing this work? Why does one do anything? We think there's a problem, right? There's a fundamental challenge that the world experiences. So primarily at the end result, patients are not getting the treatments that they need. So if you work backwards from there, we think, well, there's a lot of problems and something about the clinical trial process isn't working as effectively. So what we're doing is we're unpacking those problems and building our solutions. So given that, what I personally at least believe is that the future of clinical trials is, instead of one research study that's extremely expensive and it's going to take a long time, and you have to, as a sponsor, you have to put a lot of resource and attention to, because it's going to be difficult. What if you could run 10 different trials at the same time because you were confident that you could do it faster, you were confident that there won't be delays, and you'll be able to do your planning about which treatments take to market just more efficiently. And something that, not strictly my area, but something that it made me passionate about, one of the things that made me passionate about this problem is because of how difficult this investment can be, it would make sense for a lot of companies to prioritize things like rare diseases and things that could make a big name for them on the public markets and make a lot of money. But a lot of the day-to-day problems of regular humans aren't, I think, treated as effectively as they could. And we think clinical trials are a huge bottleneck. And finally, just going back to future clinical trials, more companies, more founders, more biotech companies building more, testing more products and bringing them faster to people. Because I personally also believe that there has been a fundamental slowdown in our access to new drugs. It's more and more effective drugs that come to market to regular people.
Now, there's always a lot of talk about patient-centric trials. What does that mean to Lindus, to you?
I'll answer from a technology perspective first. It's honestly just making it as simple as possible for the patient to actually do this thing. Because I've been a participant in clinical trials. no matter how much I would like, oh, I should participate in this trial because it's my job. I just got tired sometimes from some of these other trials where you're asking too much of me. That's it. You're asking too much of me. It's a lot of work. Now, there's obviously different types of trials. There's trials where you just complete a questionnaire on your phone, and ones that you spend a week at a research site. Whatever it is, it's realizing that even with compensation, these people are fundamentally volunteering and are also passionate about the research part of it. So it's rewarding them for that, for choosing to do this. And those rewards from a technological perspective come in to make it easy. We have in our products, we've stripped away so many things that sort of in other tools. And we've avoided building things that sound good in principle, but make it hard for the patient to actually get through the study. And one final thing in technology is our products. We also put a lot of emphasis on giving the study team the right tools to give good care to the patient. It can be simple stuff, but fundamentally it's, can they use this thing to deliver better experience to the patient? So that's where I come in from a technology perspective. And I think there's a lot of questions to talk about in trial design and how that impacts how they can be patient-centric. I think I can say that we as an organization share this perspective. Make it as easy as possible. Remove this question if you need to. Make this faster, make this quicker, make this shorter. That's, I think, where we can have leverage.
I mean, it sounds like the same way the way you're building software is that putting yourself in the shoes of the user is just so difficult. And a lot of these things seem very basic, but I guess given the complexity of the whole end-to-end, and also I guess the stakeholders, just having that user-centric point of view when you're building that user experience, it sounds like it's very difficult to do unless you have, an organization like yourself where that is part of the culture and the first principle.
100%. That is exactly it. So it's as simple as this. If I am scoping out a product or a solution, in this case, patient-facing, in about 3 or 4 months, I'm going to be working on a project where that thing is deployed to real patients. And I'm going to be seeing if something is slow, if something is not working. And our trial teams inside the company will tell me about it. Versus what I think, if you are building and selling software to the open market, a single bad experience of a patient is a data point in your, we already know these companies, and most companies are not great at ingesting user feedback, but it's just not going to shine through. Us being so close, and this is so fundamental to our technology teams, they are constantly talking to trial managers, to coordinators, and there's a many-to-many relationship and their access to knowing what happened with the tool you just built, which just reinforces a culture where we need to think about this hard.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. So talk to us a little bit about data analytics. What's the process and the thinking behind using data that you're getting to inform, I guess, whether it's protocol design, or how do you guys leverage that? I mean, maybe what are some of the thoughts you have in the future?
Yeah, I think key benefit, right, for us is because we're end-to-end, we design and we deliver, meaning you can create this like metaphorical loop between, what happened in this study and what can I learn from it. So this is more of a sort of qualitative sort of data perspective on data, up to the point of like, hey, what was the pre-screening fail rate in this study? What can we learn from this for the design of this new study? So that loop is very important for us. Going more into the quantitative, so we do maintain everything, every process we conduct in Lindus Health has associated sort of data with it, and we can tap into those. And that's very, very specific. So when we want to solve a problem, we know where to go within this company to solve that problem. Even if it's lying somewhere in a silo, we can access it. We don't have to ask for permission. We don't have to sign a contract with someone to get that data. And this is where the long-term perspective really comes in and shines through. As a relatively young company, we have X amount of all of this data across the trial. We know and we believe it's going to start compounding. The more trials around, the more we learn. And we can use all of that insight to potentially actually sort of do it in some places, but really connect all the dots so that per trial, I know that in the last 20 studies that I ran, in metabolic health, we had 20% screen fail rate. And within those 24%, these are the demographics of screen fails. Can I show that information to someone designing a new study? Without doing all of the, you can do that, but without doing all of the finding, accessing, organizing that data, for us, we think it will be ready to use. And which is why it's save a lot of time as well. That's how we can be faster with this.
And so a related question. Now, obviously, innovation, whatever that means, innovating, doing something that goes against the grain, against the normal, in an incredibly regulated environment where, for obvious reasons, you're dealing here with life and death with some trials. How do you deal with that? How do you build a culture where you are able to innovate in the right way, take decisions fast, as you say, user-centric? What are your thoughts on balancing innovation with regulatory compliance?
Well, first of all, there is some fundamental processes within our company that ensure regulatory compliance. That includes all the quality systems, quality management systems, and training and signing off on like GCP training. All of those things it's important. If we were just a technology company, to us, that quality system would be a secondary or a consultant who will like set it up for us just so we tick the box. For us, it's embedded in day-to-day development. So I can give a simple example, and then maybe go high level. Every single code change we push, or every single actually product feature we scope out and take it to our development lifecycle, has like a required field. GCP risks considered, assessed. Who did you talk to? What were the decisions? What were the conclusions? Which does two things. One, it's a process that does the job. Like checks, hey, we're building this feature. Does this break anything it shouldn't break? But because we also distribute it, and our development culture also knows this and accepts that it's just part of the process, it's a little piece to a bigger puzzle. So every new thing we build is being checked all the time. So this is that iteration. And at grand scale, it works the same way. If our company wants to like test a new trial design or build a completely new sort of larger solution, we'll have people within the company who will be subject matter experts on this. And those people are accessible to me with a Slack direct message versus having to go out and find this. So that's our approach here. And by having a culture that communicates a lot, we also don't experience problems where something happened and no one knew about it. We have full transparency of everything we do. So yeah, we solve it with culture. And of course, with like subject matter experts within the company who give us those tips. But at the same time, I do want to say, when we read a piece of regulation where we find a lot of regulation can be sometimes ambiguous, we do take some time to see if we can challenge it within the bounds of the regulation to say, well, this could be better if we did this. And then, we go talk to experts. Can we do this slightly different way? And sometimes we find that you can't. But and we also participate in feedback to regulators about how to improve the processes, how to change, how to incorporate new findings in your regulation. So we're very involved in what the regulators do.
Yeah. I love how passionate all of you are about this field, which is, at least from most people, sort of archaic. I mean, most people don't even know some of these CROs exist or are even bigger than some of the pharmaceutical companies. So I absolutely love the passion. Switching gears a little bit. Now, we've obviously, outside of this podcast, we've been speaking about CDISC, SDTM. Can you tell us, to our audience, which are primarily statistical programmers, people that know about CDISC and SDTM, what are your thoughts, or just Adam and Subishis in general, as someone who's trying to redefine the experience? What are your thoughts, your experience in doing CDISC compliant submissions, or at least building a platform that helps to integrate and streamline the whole process?
Yeah, so I think our approach has been the following. When we started building our technology systems, we discovered SDTM. We learned SDTM because we're like, well, FDA is mandating this. There must be something here. And what we did essentially was, can we be SDTM compliant at point of collection versus needing to reprogram it later? We were lucky in a way because our platform began and still is quite flexible in how we can use it. So we can use it as only an ADC in the study. We often use it as a sort of direct data entry like ADC, meaning we started building our user experience of our data collection, or we informed the user experience of our data collection based on STTM standards. So that's the essence of it. So that when we get data at the end of the study, what we get out is not and can technically never be perfectly STTM sort of full compliance, flying colors, pinnacle, all the checks passed, although we want to get there. But you've just cut out a big part of thinking about this. And then since then, every new solution we build, we're like, how can we inform this with what STTM wants from us? If there's control terminology for DS, decode, how you record dispositions, if we have a form in our product, that'd be specific, where you withdraw someone from the study, that experience will be adjusted to be in compliance in a way that your disposition data set builds itself, right? Every new record in your CRF builds a new disposition data set. That's the specific, hyper-specific approach. And at high level we spread that knowledge within the company. So we have data managers who are talking to statistical programmers, and data managers talking to trial managers. They're all in the same room. Like, let's organize the schedule of activities in this way, not in this other way that might make your programming later much harder. That's it. We try to embody that culture, and also have a lot of the tools in place, like Pinnacle. We're looking at core. We're engaging with CDISC, stay on top of what's happening. And being part of the initiatives, which first and foremost keeps us updated and learning. Secondly, there's nothing. That's the goal. We need to keep updating and learning and updating our systems as we go.
But I think what you guys have, a very interesting approach here is where you're trying to really integrate all of the different functions, which quite often work quite separately, and you do have silos, especially between data management and statistical programming. But just now you were talking about how trying to make sure that DM really understands what it has to deliver first for the biometrics teams, and that sounds like a huge benefit to how you can ultimately provide as integrated as possible, and to have the best patient outcomes as fast as possible.
The fascinating thing is some people in our teams don't know that there is another way.
Right.
I have to remind them, did you realize just how much these two things are normally separate? And I think that's really it. We being one message away from the DM of the study or the biostatistician of the study or whoever. It not only do you make better decisions, but fundamentally, and this is so important to us, you reduce the risk of random things going wrong as you go down the pipeline. And we take it, we nurture it a lot. We have a dedicated onboarding session to this, which is like how the clinical operations and product teams work together. And it's relatively unstructured meaning, but all we're saying is it is fundamental to our trial delivery that like these two teams are not just talking to each other, but they know that they can talk to each other whenever. And you have from both career paths, people could come from environments where that's not the case. From technology, you might think, oh, surely I can't just DM the trial manager and ask about how this feature should work. And ClinOps often say, well, the tech team was like somewhere in a different building in the basement, and we waited for their response on our problems.
Yeah. And I guess ultimately that's just the culture that you're building and you want to maintain, especially as you continue to grow. What are some of the biggest challenges that you're currently working on, Nijat?
I think so. From product and technology perspective, it is as we're growing and as we're doing more and more trials, there's the STTM part of it. You have to sort of update and make new types of exposure models, new types of randomization schemes, keeping all of that up to date. So we're not going into like maintenance mode with our tech. We don't never be on a place where we say we release this and then we'll take a look at it 2 years later. It's constantly being proactive in what we need to build and improve our product experience. And the reason that's a challenge is because you have this, there is this inherent urgency and pressure with studies, and we're constantly improving our product development culture to fit the realities of trial delivery. So there's that piece. The other piece is just, I think, on being able to execute on some of these bigger ideas, and not just as technology, but as a company as well. So, for example, we say we think adaptive trials are very much the future of how you conduct research. We think, okay, in any given one study, you can be adaptive and you can justify it. Can we make all of our trials be adaptive? Yeah. What does that require? That requires not just technology, right? It requires cross-functional collaboration to make that work. And it gets harder and harder as you grow, but it's our priority. Other things like, for example, there's FDA has had guidance, MHRA has had guidance about, 100% STV is not worth the time. How do we navigate that? And then for any given customer, how do we give them the best recommendation when the status quo to them might be different, and take that and build that technology as well. So it's very much staying ahead of the complexity at a higher level of, I think, the challenge we're facing, or the challenge we're focusing on and we're constantly nurturing. Otherwise, and then the rest is efficiency. The more people you have, more people need to work effectively across teams. But we're very confident about that because we lean on culture more than process. Yeah, and there are some some product solutions we're thinking about. We're pretty excited about the ideas behind digital data flow. Can we connect all of the knowledge within a trial, make trials be able to talk to each other, which goes back to our original comment about having a brain that thinks through studies and can feed back that information. So technological challenges as well.
I want to ask you one final question. Is there one thing that over the last 12 months you've completely changed your mind on?
Ooh. It is understanding the dynamics between data management, statistical programmers, and biostatisticians. I think a very exciting notion to say the words automated biostatistics, and I think you can make it automated, but I think you can't really make it automatic. And I realized that by understanding the pain points of all these three individual stakeholders. So instead of pursuing a fully sort of technology solution where, we're going to build this and it's going to solve the problem, changing our minds of how to approach that. So and also breaking apart those three stakeholders. Because remember, because we're like a end-to-end team, we talked earlier, sometimes don't realize just how much can be in silos. So instead of saying, this solution, we can put it on a pitch deck and say, let's build this. We're looking at reinventing, again, trying to reinvent how that process is done versus saying this is like a out-of-the-box solution that will solve the problem. And we kind of changed our mind a little bit about that. We're still going to pursue automation and abstraction of redundancy in work. But the more I learned about even adaptive trials, the more I learned about the complexity that is involved in both statistical programming and especially at biostatistical medical writing. It's not about removing that piece. It's about making that piece more efficient.
Yeah. Is there anything that I should have asked that I didn't ask to end on?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think maybe asking how is it that our company and our technology can be very flexible in the types of trials we're running, from remote DCTs to fully site-based studies to even hybrids, and across many indications, because we do that, and even I find it surprising at how it's working out. What I've learned is that, and this was early on as someone working product, this was like a potential risk, right? We're going to build something and it's only going to work for this type of study and not be able to scale. And I think that's, to me, it's interesting. I think it comes from two things. So from the clinical side, building a clinical operations management sort of culture that you get the right experts at the right time, and training of coordinators to learn more about these different indications. That is a huge impact. by being in the same room. You can really take someone who's working in dermatology, and then they can be part of the study in oncology if they're new, and they could be coached by someone who has deep experience in that industry. And then that compounds. From a technology perspective, I think the answer was very interesting, which was focus on the fundamentals of what research, clinical research in this case, is all about. It's about getting patients in and collecting their baseline data, and then getting their outcome data out of the door. Our core architecture, as I sort of mentioned at the beginning, is built around that, and everything else is a layer on top. It's a dermatology study. We don't have to build a new module to upload images. We're adding an image upload feature to an underlying research database management system, which has been fantastic. I mean, we were able to add like DICOM support, imaging support, within a couple months. Only after we did that, we realized this is an entirely separate industry that has to maintain it independently from everything else.
Awesome. Well, Nijat, firstly, congratulations on all the success that you guys have had. I encourage everyone listening to follow Lindus and to check out what they're doing, because it's absolutely fascinating, and what they've been able to achieve in a very short period of time is nothing but absolute success. So Nijat, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I hope everyone has enjoyed and find it valuable. Perhaps we can do a round 2 as you guys continue to scale and continue to learn about new things. So Nijat, if there's anything you want to leave our listeners to.
Finding a way to be excited about challenging some outdated notions and being passionate about making a difference. Because as we kind of say, everyone in Lindus, I think, might be exaggerating, has had an experience in their past, at least I have, experience in their past where a family member was affected and a new drug could have been helpful. And actually, maybe like a little story. The first 2 trials we ran at Lindus Health, the 2 different treatments, and each of my individual parents could have benefited from each of those 2 treatments. I was like, wow, okay, that's how this works. That's exciting. That's what it's all about, because it can be pretty lonely in the silo when you're just doing tasks.
Okay, well, that's beautiful. Nijat, thank you so much, and speak soon.
Thanks, Thomas.